All right, and here we go. Good evening, and welcome to the Showtime edition of this episode with Men of Color, Conversation with Men of Color. This is episode 5, live right here on Facebook. Showtime TV Production presents some awesome men this evening. Right now, joining us live is Fernando Feliciano and Pastor Therman Hopkins. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing, bro? How you making out?
I'm good. I'm getting ready for this exciting conversation here. Let's start off with Fernando. Fernando, as I've done in all the other episodes, I want to give you opportunities to introduce yourself. You can say anything about your family background, your work background, and anything else you want to present.
Okay, my name is Fernando Feliciano. I'm a black and Latino descent. I'm born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware. Lived in Delaware mostly all my life. I had a short stint outside of Delaware for maybe like 2 years, but again came right back. Delaware for some reason is home for me. Community involvement in boys and girls club situation like that. I built roots here as far as my job stability. I've been at my job for over 15 years. I work for Sim Associates. It's a financial institution, do accounts receivable, accounts payable. I also do a home-based business as well that I'm putting more emphasis on for the last quarter of 2020 and heading into 2021 strong. So that's basically it right now.
Okay, now I know you're a father. You got some daughters, right?
Oh, yes, I am a
You almost forget them.
sorry. Yeah, of course not. If they listening, sorry. I'm a father of 3. I have two daughters and a son. My oldest is 23. My youngest daughter is 22. Both of them in college, via online, obviously. And I have a son. He's 19. He's also attending classes in U of D. This is he's a sophomore year. My other daughters, they're both sophomores. My other daughter's a junior. And in college, obviously online right now. So, and I enjoy a lot of sports. I like to play sports, watch sports, fish, paintball. Real active, and I'm just enjoying, even with the corona going, I'm still finding ways to enjoy things, still finding a way to get my grind on as well. So, thanks.
Okay, that's good. All right, Thurman, Pastor Thurman.
Hey, how you guys doing? I am a husbandman married to a lovely woman. Her name is Rosalind Hopkins. We've been married for 23 years. We have 6 kids. My oldest is 30. Danya will be 38, and my youngest is Ebony is 31. So we, got a few kids. When I stand before God and He tells me to say, "Have you been fruitful and multiply?" I check that box off. I've been working at a company. This year will be 30 years. I've been working for a company called Purdue Farms, where I'm the corporate security manager. So I pastor, and that's my passion. Pastor and counseling. It's something that I love to do. Also, I help out my wife with her cleaning business. So seem to be real busy and well-rounded as far as businesses and work, man. But my passion is seeing God's people set free.
Right. Both of you men are fathers, and I want to give you men an opportunity, as I gave the other gentlemen in all the other episodes. Talk about the joy of being a father, life learned lessons, the joy of having a son, the joy of having a daughter, the joy of just being a role model to your children. I want to start off with Pastor Therman.
One of the joys for me is my father is, and Omar, you know this about him. He is a storyteller as far as life lessons. And some of those life lessons that he has shared with me, I have shared with my boys and my girls. And what I found out is I find those life lessons repeating themselves. And the joy that I get out of it is the mistakes that my father made, that generation, as far as me, I didn't make them. And then seeing my children succeed, like my son, watching him, my oldest son and Big Thurman and my son, Little Thurman, watching little Thurman and big Thurman raise their kids, and watching my daughter Nish and Ebony raise their kids, and some of the things that I used to do to them, I see them doing them to the kids, you know, as far as like just good values and teaching them, you know, integrity and things that our dad taught us, and them reproducing those traits and bringing that generation, instead of it being not only walking in a generational blessing that God has placed on us through wisdom. And that's what I get the joy out of it.
Right.
Also get the joy out of the mistakes that they make too. Especially when they come and sit down and talk with you and try to explain to you, well, not try to, actually explain to you some of the things and some of the mistakes that they made, and you are able to speak back into their lives and give them wisdom. That's the ultimate joy of that. And I can't forget about the grandkids, man, because
Okay.
or I think it's the best creation that God has ever made. And this is the reason why you have responsibility, but yet you don't have the responsibility. What do you mean by, what do I mean by that? Meaning that I'll get them for a day or maybe a couple of days. And then I got that responsibility for 3 or 4 days, and then I can do whatever I want to do with them and don't have to worry about anything else and give them back to the parents.
Right.
Being a grandfather is probably one of the greatest things that God has given me, man. It's truly a blessing.
Okay. All right, Fernando, you got to follow that, man.
Man, that was awesome. And it's some of the things you said resonated with me right away. One in particular is grandkids. I have a 23-year-old, 22-year-old daughters, and they're not, well, my youngest daughter is in a serious relationship. My oldest daughter, she has, you know, she's dating, but she's not she's not looking to settle down, or not hasn't found anyone that is, I guess. I keep telling her, sometimes I think you are maybe you find him Mr. Perfect, and that's fine, you know, but there's going to be some flaws with everybody, so you got to understand it. But I want some grandkids. So the fact that you said that, and that's perfect. The fact that you can have them and be able to give them back, is one of the joys too. So I was a father at 20. So I wasn't a teenage father. I was proud of that. I was a father at 20, and daughters, watching them grow, you know, watching my children and being a part of their lives growing up as a father was really special. I had 2 daughters first. Everyone wants the ideal. They say one boy, 1 girl. They're good. I got 2 girls, and I got my son last. But I really enjoyed fatherhood with all of them. But they all had different moments with them, different life lessons with them, and I learned from them just as much as they learned from me in some cases. One thing in particular that I find that right now, when I was younger and raising them, they were more, I would say more, to me, I'm having an easier time, maintaining my children now than when I was younger, because when I had talked to them when they were younger, a lot of time their question is why, or why is this, or why is that. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I was kind of like wanted to talk to them and try to explain it to them, and sometimes they wouldn't understand, so they asked why again. So now I had to tell them different options, but I let them know that you have opinion, someone else has opinion, things of that nature. But when I would me and our mother wasn't together, however, so I had time where it was just me and her, we would bond. I would get them every weekend faithfully. I've been through the whole daddy daycare thing with my children, and I love that experience, changing them, getting up in the morning, getting their hair done, taking them to school, getting their food, just being at, doing handling that part of it, gave me a lot of respect for the mothers that are single out there, because that right there really kind of like let me know that this responsibility is just as mine as theirs, and I experienced it, and but that bond between my daughters, the bond and looking at them and just nourishing them and seeing them grow, and taking them to school and talking to them, was good. And then my son, when I got my son, it was like, okay, now I have a boy. I don't want to be the hard role with him, but I don't want to be the soft role with him.
Right,
I want
right.
to have like a medium level. I didn't want to be too hard and too soft, but kind of have that balance. So with him, I had the moments where he wanted to learn how to ride bikes, or he wanted to do certain things. So I had to work, sit down and show him how to do that. Talk to him about the basic necessities of how to be a man. How to talk, how to coordinate, how to think first before you react. And the same thing I teach my daughters as well. But I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. So one of the things that I talk to my children about is health as well. I'm plant-based. I'm a plant-based eater. I don't eat flesh or anything. So that was something that really resonated with me.
God bless you, bro.
They didn't. It didn't resonate with them. They were doing their thing, and just really just eating with everybody else. What the common thing right now, fast food seems to be the new food. Everyone, that's what the teenagers is all about. And even me, when I was young, I kind of had that. But I talked to them about proper dieting. What you put in your body is how it helps. Is what you put in is what you put out. Change, positive mind thinking. I always send them certain things to look at. Whether sometimes they look at them, sometimes they don't. But I always try to give them motivational information. I try to show positive through my actions. And I said, even sometimes when I'm wrong, learn a lesson from the time I'm wrong. And I said, you're going to always learn a lesson from anybody you're around, whether it's a good lesson, a bad lesson, what to do, what not to do. I said, I didn't want you, girl, my children to grow up the way I did. Far as, me having, I had a little stint in the streets. And I'm grateful that my children never had to experience that. So I made sure that I let them know that this is not the way to be. This is not the way to go. I had gotten some trouble. I talked to them about it. They have not experienced that. I graduated from high school. I got nervous, cold feet, didn't go to college. All my children are in college. So those are things that I wanted to put in their mind state to let them know you can do this. You can elevate yourself. You can further advance yourself. And we still have conversations. I was just with my daughters this weekend. We went down to a vegan restaurant down in Capitol Hills, Maryland, and I always make it a business. I always make it my business while we're driving down there to where we have some talk time. The music is off, and we just talk. What's on your mind? Anything you want to talk about. I talk to them about opportunity. What's going on relationship wise. Just kind of get a clear view. I'll be grabbing my son this weekend, and we'll be having not this weekend, excuse me, the following weekend. And we'll be having some talk time as well. But I try to make sure I'm that ear for them. I call them and talk to them, and just trying to be there for them because they're, like I said, they're grown now. But at the same time, I'm still their dad. They gotta, and they know that they can call on me if they need me for anything.
And you said something that is very powerful and that I think is missing in a generation today, and that's where the fathers are actually speaking into your children's lives. I remember, what I see lacking in this generation with our young men and our young women is the basics. I remember when my father would take me riding, and he would say this to me. When I would talk to him, sometimes I would put my head down. And he would always tell me, say, son, whenever you're talking to someone, you look them in the eye. That little bit wisdom goes a long ways for, when you're doing an interview for jobs, talking about how you present yourself. And I think that in this generation, what we're seeing from our young people is a missing link called fathers. Anybody can be a dad, but there's few fathers, man. Somebody that can speak from experience. I tell people in life, experience is like God smearing stuff on you. He takes those experiences and they never leave, meaning that the wisdom that you get off of it, whether it's good or bad, you can download that piece of experience into your children that will make them better people in society. And I think that's why we see young men and young women veering off so far now, because it was important for my dad to speak in my life. It's important for each one of us to speak into our children's life. And this is the thing, there's no age limit where fathers stop, where you stop fathering. Because I find myself now, my daughter will call me on the phone and ask for advice or ask for wisdom, or my son will call me on the phone. And I think it's important for every man to be in position to be able to speak experience into his children.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to bring Bruce into the conversation. To just join us. Bruce, if you could start off by just give a brief what your career is, any educational background, family background, and we'll go from there.
Yes, thank you, Omar. My apologies for having to get to a better location for joining late. So my apologies to everybody on the panel. My name is Bruce Dorsey. I have lived in Delaware, my whole life. I am a small business owner, an entrepreneur, as well as I'm in the social work field. So I'm a licensed social worker, and I'm also a transformational life coach. So, I help people transform their lives from the inside out. I using various principles, most of them biblical principles. I do work with young people. So I was actually listening to a lot of what, the gentleman said that was just speaking, and very powerful and oh so true. So I just feel honored to be on the panel to be able to talk about these very important, crucial issues that we're facing today. And, I'm excited about the possibilities of working together with other like-minded people to really make a difference.
Yeah.
And just like I asked the other two gentlemen, what is the joy of being a father for you?
For myself, it's just being able to give the love, the direction, and seeing them really grow. Because I have a son my son actually turned 17 today. Today is his birthday. Yeah. And and I have a daughter that's 37. So, so I've actually experienced a lot with both of them. One boy, one girl. So they boys and girls are different, but at the same time, the parenting, giving that stability, giving that that ear, the love, the time, the patience, and some things, sometimes when you think your kids, especially in teenage years, sometimes when you think they don't get it, and then later on, you find out as they grow, you find out that they really were listening. So that's a very proud moment, profound as well. So, it's really, so I just feel grateful, number one, to be a father, grateful to be a father, and grateful that I was blessed with, two very intelligent, talented, and good-hearted children. They both have a very good heart, and they both want to try to put their best foot forward, become their best self.
All right, and Bruce, I want to stay with you, and I want to ask my brother Thurman the same question, and Junior, if you want to chime in this as well. You mentioned that you're a licensed clinical social worker. We as men, sometimes we say, "Hey, John, yeah, I'm good." So sometimes we don't express ourselves. We keep things in. There are those who say men are so emotional today, and so as a licensed clinical social worker, do you have a lot of African American men that come see you to talk about their issues? And Thurman, with you being a pastor, man, do you counsel African American men? Do African American men come to you and say, "Hey, Pastor, man, I just need to talk"? Let's start off with Bruce, then Thurman, and Junior. If you want to chime in, you can.
Yes, well, I'm not actually a licensed clinical social worker. I mean, I'm an LBSW working on the master's at the master's there, so I'm working on. But to answer your question, I've worked with. I don't get many men. Most of the time, it's women, or it's mothers who want to get they want their sons to actually be seen and assessed, and they want you to work with them. So, but no, I don't typically see a lot of African American men, and I don't know if it's just that we feel that we really don't need anybody else's help, and we want to try to figure it out on our own, or I don't know if that's the dynamic, but no, I most of my clients have been either women, teens, or mothers who may have concern for their sons, whether they're a teenager or actually a young adult. So.
Okay, got you.
For me, I can relate to what he's saying, even in the church, more so when you're doing counseling. I get more women that come in with me and my wife for counseling more so than men. Now I do get men.
Mhm.
And this is the thing that I think is part of the problem when it comes, especially to our culture. In our lives, we've been taught, hey boy, don't you cry.
Mhm.
Don't you
Right.
you keep that to yourself. You figure that out. And I think as you grow up, it's just in us to hold things in and try to work it out on our own. And so when I do get men that come in for counseling, most of the times they're the hardest ones to bring stuff out. And
Okay.
I call it in counseling like peeling an onion. You start off with the top of it, and then as you get into it, men tend to open up. But I think it's coming most of the time from culture. Now, with the young generation, it's a little different though, because in church, I'm finding out now, I've been pastoring for 2 years, our younger generation is more apt to come out and say, hey, look, I got a problem. I've been counseling several young men for the past year, and it's great to see the transparency in them more than you see in the older generation. And I think it's, because of things being so open, you got Facebook, you got YouTube, you got Snapchat and those things like that, where they're constantly communicating with people.
Right.
So they feel more comfortable to start sharing things. But one of the things that I found out is that when you're dealing with them, the best thing to do is be totally transparent with the younger generation. And if you're totally transparent with them, because they can see the fake from the real. And I found out that I've been more productive with sharing my story of where I came from, where God brought me from, and where he's brought me to. So they'll see that, guess what? I'm human, and I think that's what we have to do as African American. We have to be real and transparent with ourselves if we ever want to walk in the total man that God has called us to be.
Absolutely. And I do want, that's right on. One thing I do like to add to that is a lot of times you have, in particular, men and minorities, there's a pride thing or a masculinity. We've been taught, as you said, we've been taught to, put our big boy pants on and just deal with it. And a lot of times with the fact that it's a masculinity thing where it's a macho thing, they're hurting on the inside, but really looking strong on the outside.
Yeah.
And then, so, and I, like you said, I'm a youth group counselor on Wednesdays.
Wow.
I do see some of the children there. It's a mixed children. And there's a few of them that I connect and resonated with because, not only I'm a minority, but the other thing is that, they come from cities. So, and, they're dealing with stuff in school and what have you. So I was like, listen, it's always good to talk about things instead of holding it in. And one of the things I practice, because I was one of those kids, I dealt with some issues, and I would always say, I'm gonna fix it myself. But I learned to understand that you got to fix it within first before you can fix it on the outside. So prayer, meditation is the things that kind of help me, better myself within. But yeah, I agree with you. The fact that we have the men, they're not coming out speaking freely about or they may not even acknowledge that they need therapy or need help because they have that masculinity or that macho perception about them, about them. But a lot of times they get angry for simple things because they're hurting on the inside. And if you can find a way to peel back them layers, as you guys mentioned, you can get to the root of the problem. One thing that really kind of stand out to me, and really I think he should put more emphasis, the rapper Common. I was listening to one of his, he had I guess a open mic performance on his new album called Love, and this was probably last summer, so it's been out, but it resonated with me. He spoke and said that, we talked about, how black men have masculinity issues where they're macho. He talked about his situations where he actually has a counselor, and he was like, you should open up, open up, because it's going to make you a better person within, on the inside, which would then make you a better person on the outside. So he talked about dealing with masculinity and also having a feminine side, and it's hard to make, as I said, what we put in us as to be masculine men, it's hard to have a feminine side, because people take that as weakness or a sign of, where, he's soft, but that's not the case. If you can balance it out, you'll be a better overall being. So I definitely understand and see that.
Go ahead, Pastor, you want?
Yeah, I think that, every one of us should have someone that we give accountability to, meaning that, hey, look, I'm going to set some time out where I'm going to sit down and talk with you. And I want you to be accountable for me. I want you to be able to speak into my life and tell me, hey, look, Thurman, the way you're thinking right now is wrong. And I think every man should have that mentor. Whether it's a woman, I have three people that speak into my life. Two of them are men and one of them is a woman, and I need it. I need the man, and also I need the mother. And I think that once you find that piece of people, or someone that you can allow to just be a sounding board. Sometimes I'll call my uncle up and be like, man, I just want to talk. And sometimes it's one of them things where he does all the talking and I do the listening. And then sometimes I do all the talking and he does the listening. And it's finding that happy medium to allow and submit to the wisdom that they have for you. And I think all men and women need that piece. So
Right.
for folks to think that, hey, look, I don't need counseling. I don't need anyone speaking into my life. You are misleading yourself, and you'll find yourself getting into a lot of things because you had no one to have that sounding board,
Right. On the same lines, I remember growing up watching the movie Menace in Society, and the grandfather asked the main character, Cain, do you want to live or do you want to die? And just as at the end of the movie, as he was about to move, his brother who got retribution on him and then shot him to death. And he shielded the young baby who mother was played by Jada Pinkett.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too late for him to change his life because he said he wanted to live. He's about to make a change in his life. It was too late. So I want to ask you three gentlemen, if you feel free to share, growing up as younger men, what are the things that you've done in life that weren't the best decisions in your life and you overcame those decisions, those negative ways of life, and now you're all living good lives now. So I mean, do you do all three? Have you all lived those lives on a positive level pretty much all your life, or did you make mistakes in the past that you come to regret and you later changed your life? So feel free to whoever want to go first. I mean, y'all nervous?
I'll just say that I believe, we've all done things in the past that we've regretted. I know I certainly have. I believe that I was fortunate in a lot of ways to not only come from a good family, but also as I began to get older, and when I say older, I mean in my late teens, some of the jobs that I worked at, there were older. I mean, I had my dad in my life, so I always had that. But because once you become an adult and you get out there and you're working and you're not home as much, so I was fortunate to have a lot of older men that took an interest in me because I guess they saw something in me that they, that they liked, or that they maybe they thought that I had potential, and so they were able to take me under their wing. They were able to just became actually second fathers to me, and we could hang out and have a good time. But
Right.
they at the same time, they were like second fathers. If you mess something up, you know that you messed it up, and they took the time to teach me some things, uh, about life, about work, whether it's working on cars, landscaping. I mean, they just always took an interest in making sure that that I fulfilled, I guess, that potential that they may have saw in me. And so and what I've come to really understand is that the only person that can really stop you from doing anything, from becoming, doing, and having everything that you want, is the person in the mirror. Because I mean, you have everybody has the ability to connect with God, this powerful infinite source, and tapping into that power. I mean, it's, you're literally an unlimited being. And so I think if you're open to letting that power express itself with and through you, that only that person in the mirror, because I mean, we all have free will, we all have a choice. So I think if I think it's just keeping your mind on a higher image rather than a lower concern, rather than problems. You have to keep your focus, to things that benefit you. And I think it's connecting with like-minded people. I'm a big proponent of mastermind groups, as long as you have the right individuals that are in it. I'm a big proponent of that. And you just have to surround yourself with the right energy. So I'm very grateful. I mean, very grateful. Did I answer your questions, Omar? I know I kind of got off a little bit.
No, that's all. You just sharing. That's all it's about. All right.
And that's deep. So, man, I used to get in all kinds of trouble. I mean, I was that guy. I lived in my parents were divorced, so I didn't really have my father in my life. He was in and out. He made a lot of broken promises when it was time to get us. He would always leave my mom hanging. So I had to deal with that as a teenager, probably around 11. But yeah, I dibble and dabbled in the streets a little bit. I did get in some trouble. But one thing that my mother taught me, because my mother would work a lot, she had to work 2 jobs to maintain, to keep the household where it's supposed to be. So her work ethic did stay with me. When I was able to work, I did work, but I still always had a fascination for hanging out with my friends and getting in trouble. So I did have some rough times in my life, but I can tell you what, it definitely helped mold me into the man that I am. And dealing and learning that aspect of, as they would say, street knowledge, and understanding, what's going on in the streets, because it's a whole another, it's another life. There's a whole different dialect. I mean, the government had to call it. They had to take it serious at one point and name it Ebonics, because it was a whole nother language. They weren't understanding it, and to some extent, that's still clever. Even in ignorance, it's still clever, because you can use a word that means multiple things, and if another person can't understand it, and you can, and another person can, you have an advantage. So, I mean, street knowledge is good to have, obviously, but to a certain extent. But it definitely, I definitely had some trials and tribulations growing up, and I'm some of it I regret, some of it I think was put in. It was a test. It was a true test. I experienced it, and I realized that it was a test, to where it was going to determine whether I was going to stay on the negative path or the bad path that I was on, or if I was going to rise and elevate. And I decided to take the right path. I didn't take school serious until high school. I actually got expelled from Mount Pleasant. Uh, I was expelled there, and I was on homebound. to where I was having teachers come to my home, and I was meeting one at a community center. Mr. Patton, Mr. Ogechi, and Ms. Thompson. Now these three people was real intricate and helping me change. But again, I had to have a will and a desire to make the change. It wouldn't have resonated if I didn't want to do it.
Right.
I don't know what exactly sparked or what changed. Matter of fact, let me not say that. I do know what changed. I changed. I actually took the time to reevaluate myself. I started doing exercising to relieve some of the stress that I was going through. I stopped hanging around some of the people that I was hanging around, and I started focusing my attention. With me and my brother, we would do like karate, which is a form of discipline and mental discipline as well. And I think a lot of that had to contribute to it. And then I met these three individuals at Homebound, and they really kind of inspired me to take the work serious. That you can learn and do whatever you want, and I did that. So I'm grateful for those three students. Wound up going to high school, had to sign a contract to go to Howard High School, and that's when a lot of my transformation started there as well. In high school is when I started getting interest in business, entrepreneurism and business, and I joined a organization called Business Professionals of America, and I experienced a lot, met a lot of friends, still some of these friends that I did in school to this day. When I got into my 20s, I really didn't have any troubles after that. I really, at that point, I became a father at 20, so that was a whole nother level. I remember when I had her and I looked at my daughter in her eyes, I said, "This is why I'm going to do the right things." And I really think that even it was still stubble from time to time, but for the most part, I did have some rough teenage years growing up. I dealt with the law, got in trouble with the law. Had to invest a lot of money. My mom, being there for me, my stepfather being there for me, and they played, they stayed positive with me, and they was with this journey with me as well. And that my mom is so proud of me now, and I'm grateful for it. I love my mom. I was over there today hanging out with her and just telling her how much I love her and appreciate her. And she's proud of me because she see the man I became. And I told her, I said, "Mom, I'm giving you all the credit because you raised three men by yourself. And I know I gave you some hell, but at the same time, I know that, you prayed for me, your prayer, your love, never, you never looked down on me, never said you always had wishful and high praises of me. And when she talks about it now, I know it's true because I'm showing what she wants me to. I'm showing what she's always thought that I can be. So I'm grateful for those trials and tribulations because it also helped me understand the right way. And I can also be able to tell if I'm seeing something on my daughter's side or my child, if I see that they're going down the wrong path, I can be able to say, "Hey, I've been there. Pump your brakes. Come on back. Let's start with your friends. Start with your friends. Who are you hanging around? What they're into. What are your likes? What are dislikes?" So I've been there. My mom wasn't able to get those questions to me, but I'm able to ask those questions to my daughters and my son. But again, they never experienced any type of street life. And that's because I made sure that I didn't want them to take the same route that I did. I wanted to be a father in their lives, not how my father wasn't in my life. So I learned from my father what not to do, or what not to do by I'm there when my children need me. I'm always been
Right.
there.
Man, this is good, man. I enjoy hearing you guys, share. To answer your question, Omar, I think, God allows certain people to, I was listening to Brother Bruce, and he was sharing that, how different people, entered or spoke into his life. And for me, my dad was a good father, but I had my grandmother raised me, and there were things that she done. And for me, the change was because, I used to be an ex-drug dealer, and I'll never forget this moment. And I share it with my congregation. They done heard it 1,000 times. It was one Friday, and I was going over to my grandmother's house, and I wanted to bless her with some money, right?
Mhm.
I go over there, and and I'm taking out this $100, and I'm about to put it in her hand to give it to her. And she looked at me, and she said these words to me: that changed my life. She said, boy, I didn't raise you to be like that. And I stopped. And I was like, so the statement that she made to me was, if I take what you're giving you right now, and I know what you're doing, I'm condoning what you're doing. And I've raised you different. So I'm not going to take it. So I put the money back in my pocket, and something started in me, man, that at the time I didn't understand. I do understand now, because a couple of days later, my uncle, who is my mentor now, my Uncle Ivory, came on my job and was talking to me. And basically what he was telling me was, hey, look, man, your slip is hanging and you need to get yourself together. So there are some events that God will put people in your life that are important to you to speak into your life, and it will remind you of what they put into you or what they have spoken to your life. And with my grandmother, it started the change. Even though I didn't change, it got me thinking. Then my uncle comes back and says something to me that I said, man, I don't know what's going on, but it's making me uncomfortable. And I did what every good drug dealer would do. I lied and told my uncle, no, I don't do that, right? And it wasn't a couple of weeks after that, my uncle came and prayed for me. And I ended up giving my life to the Lord. And I want to say that to say this, there are times with that movie, what you were talking about, he asked a question to remind him of what do you want? And with me, my grandmother spoke something and did something in my life and reminded me of how she raised me. And that started the ball rolling, what I believe what God was orchestrating to get me back on the right path. And there are times that there are events that are happening, whether it's in a store, whether it's in a counseling session, whether it's you're on a basketball court talking to your uncles or talking to your friend or talking to your man, and they'll say something that will resonate you and pull you back and put you into the place, into the direction that you need to go. And that's what happened to me. And I haven't looked back since, but it's funny how things are happening, like you're in a counseling session or a teacher or 3 teachers are coming to a community center and downloading stuff into you that change your life. And it's about being able to be receptive. I could have got all upset and been like, nah, I can't believe that my grandmother did not. It was something that she said that we knew that we had to make a choice, right? All of us meet that point in life that, you know, this is illuminating to me right now. I mean, I've never looked at it like this. You did show me how to do the right thing. I watched you get up every day at 4:30 in the morning and go to work. Come home, 3:30, feet swelling, prop your feet up, swelling go down and get right back up in the morning. That's what she was saying to me. Son, you got to work for a living and not be out there in them streets. I've been the example to you. And that's what I believe that sometimes has to happen to us to get us back to the right path. So that's my experience, brother.
Right. So it's now years later, it's 2020. So Bruce and Fernando, I want to ask you both, what inspires you to, both of you mentioned that you're entrepreneurs. So what inspires you to be an entrepreneur? And then Thurman, I want to ask you, Pastor Therman, I want to ask you, what inspires you to want to be a pastor? So let's start off with Fernando, and then Bruce, then Thurman.
Okay. It actually, the desire or the want to become an entrepreneur kind of came from, or started when I was in high school at Howard High School of Technology, where I joined Business Professionals of America. When I did graduate from there, and I'll say in 98, 99 is when I started me, my brother, and my cousin, we started an entertainment company called MDE, Millennium Dynasty Enterprises. So we took it serious. We went and met, got everything together, went to the state building and got an LLC. And that was my first business that we actually got, that we started. And we actually did that it was about 5 years, that we, maybe even longer than that. But we were promoting events. Our first event was at Christiana Cultural Arts Center. We did a talent showcase, and we did a modeling as well, and we have like parties afterwards. So we did about two of those there. I don't know if you guys remember the Waterworks building right there near off of Brandywine Bridge. We did events there. We did Jazzmatazz over there. So I always had a desire from that business professional to stem off to do the entrepreneur. It was always in me. It just that I didn't pay it any mind. So when I took the interest to it, it glowed on me. So I always started. I was promoting events, me and my brothers, and we actually did Pharaohs, and we was doing Latin night on Thursdays there at Pharaohs before it was celebrations, and even at celebration, when it became celebrations, we were doing Latin nights there every Thursday. So and again, that was I was doing a full-time job, and I was doing that part-time. But again, it felt good to generate your own income, promote, and the networking and the different people that I got involved with. And like I said, some of them were still friends to the day. We still talk about we still network. Fast forward into fast forward, it's always in my bread. I took a little hiatus from the promotion aspect of it. We slowed down on that when kind of, you ride the wave until it crashes, and you either look for another location or you relax for a little bit. So we just decided to settle down with that and not do too much. And then I got involved into multi-level network marketing, which is a multi-level marketing. I did a few of those opportunities. Had a bad experience with one, which if you didn't have that drive, that experience that I experienced, for someone who was getting into that business, they would have probably had a bad taste, would have never even thought about getting back into it with multi-level marketing. But it's a very successful opportunities, home-based business opportunities. There's a lot of them out there that are really good opportunities for you to build success and wealth and generational wealth. I'm seeing it with my own eyes and have a chance to experience that as well, as far as me generating income. But it's a great thing to be an entrepreneur, self-made money, where you take your ideals, put them on paper, make a blueprint, and then build from it. It's a great experience. But I really enjoy controlling, far as what I can generate. Also, the people that you're around, the people that you surround yourself, the good-minded people, the people who think like you, the business-minded people. You want to surround yourself with those type of people. And when you get into a real multi-level marketing business, and there's people that are really had that mindset, who's really looking to grow with you, who want to see you succeed and help someone else succeed, and with a positive mindset and the team that we join, it's awesome. And I'm looking to grow it even more, grow it more and more, and help more people, expose this opportunity to them. Because right now it's a tough situation out here right now for some people. Right. Some people are not fortunate enough; they don't have a job. They can't find a job. Their unemployment is cut off, or they're coming in late. They're struggling, and right now is if you can give someone an opportunity to self-generate money, and a duplicated system, which we have, to help them become successful. It's a good feeling seeing other people succeed within your organization, and to say that you helped them and become a part of it. And then you say, okay, we'll turn around and grab somebody else's hand and let's do the same for them. And I see the value in it. It's in me, or it's in me. Entrepreneur, multi-level marketing, it's in me, and I like to see people succeed. Even those that are higher than me or those in below, I don't look at anybody any different. We're partners in this business, whether you're 5 levels down from me or 4 levels up from me. We're a partner. We're all in communication. So it's a great experience. I really enjoy entrepreneurism. Again, I can see this being a full-time business for me. That's going to be my goal for 2021, is to really start taking it home full-time and start putting my 9 to 5 into a part-time status. So that's where it is right now, 2020.
Okay, Bruce.
Yes. And I look back over my many years as a small business owner. I think I have about 20, 24 years now as a small business owner, different types of companies. I My first company was I was actually, it wasn't by choice. I wanted to. I was working for. I had a really good job. I was building car seats for a company that supplied General Motors, and so I worked there for about I want to say roughly 9 years, and the company just they lost the contract. Another company came in to build the seats at a lower price, so that so the company shut down that I was essentially working for, and I had bought a home 6 months prior to them shutting down. I had my daughter was really small at that time. I had a lot of responsibility, and so I went through the various stages. I mean, you go through everything from anger, hurt, fear. There's a lot of different emotions that come into play when when you have that kind of a setback. And so I tried to get different jobs and couldn't get a job. Nobody would hire me. I mean, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job as a dog catcher, man. I mean, I couldn't. No matter how hard I tried, man, I could not. I mean, they're in the company that came in to build the seats at a cheaper price. I couldn't even get a job with them. I mean, and I had been doing that work for 9 years. So, as my money ran out, I got to a point where I was broke. And I had a lot of people depending on me. And so I had spoke to my daughter's mother, and she was saying, maybe you ought to think about starting your own business, because she had her own business prior to that. And so I pondered it a little bit, but I was uncomfortable with it, very uncomfortable. I never knocked on anybody's door, asked them, can I do some work for you? I never, so I had to actually assess my skills. And so I had to come to myself and say, if nobody will give you a job, then you maybe you should create one. So now you have to decide, well, what service can I provide that somebody would be willing to pay for? So I mean, I had to do a total assessment of myself, what I could do, and I did have some skills, but I was just broke. I didn't have any money. So I said I know how to do landscaping. I was taught how to do that. I did have a little small pickup truck. I mean, one of those little small ones, and but I didn't have any tools. So I decided to start a contracting company, but because I didn't have any money to buy any tools, I looked around. I said, wait a minute, you just bought this home. You do have one rake, one shovel to do the yard. So you have to, start with what you have. So I began to do an inventory of what I had, an inventory of my skills. I had to face the fear of possible rejection. I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I will say that one thing I will always say, I grew up in the church, ever since from the cradle all the way up, even though I went in and out of the church. So my family's always been very faith-based. I was raised that way. So even in my darkest hours, being broken and the struggle of trying to turn nothing into something, I still knew to get on your knees and ask for direction, ask for help, being willing to listen or be guided, so to speak. I still had the teachings of being grateful for what you do have versus what you don't have. So, and it's not easy when you're coming from a place of, physical lack, or at least your perception of what physical lack is, it's not always easy. I mean, so, but again, it's what are the alternatives? You have a daughter that needs you. You have a home that you got to pay for. You have a lot of responsibility. So are you ready to give up? No, I wasn't ready to give up. So I decided to use this. And I think that's what, and I think that's what the average person does not do these days. There's a saying, 2% of the people actually think. 3% of the people think that they think. And 95% of the people would rather die than think.
Wow.
Now, let me explain that. The 95% of the people, they're the and forgive my expression, they're the herd, so to speak. They do what everybody else does. They do what everybody else does. They think the way everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
They buy into what everybody else buys into. They're talking about the same thing. So now the 3% of the people who think they think are the ones that confuse mental activity with critically thinking. So these people, so the 3% of the people think that because they got up and got dressed, because they drove to work, because they did things that they do every day, that they don't have to think about, that they're actually thinking. You know what I mean? That's not thinking. You have mental activity going on, but you're not actually thinking because you already know how to do those things. The subconscious mind is at work. Now, the 2% of the people are the people that actually critically think. They know how to use their imagination. They know how to build ideas. They know how to actually problem solve. They know how to use their mind to be able to create a desired outcome. Those are, and I learned that from a mentor who's very, very wealthy and successful that I followed. But when you really think about it, I could see where that could be, those numbers could be fairly accurate. But so anyway, getting back to what you asked me, Omar, I was able to, the more I started to face my fears and get out and do what was uncomfortable, which was knocking on doors, talking to strangers, asking for help, the more it didn't bother me. The more I understood that there's going to be people who are going to say no, but there's going to be somebody that's going to take a chance on you, somebody that's going to believe in you, somebody that's going to offer you an opportunity. God didn't bring you this far to just to leave you. I had to understand that I had everything. I already had everything that I needed within. I had everything that I needed. It was just becoming aware. The heck? Am I still here?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, I'm still here.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No, it was just becoming aware of that and learning how to apply what I already had to a worthy goal. And so I kept on going, and I ended up hiring somebody, and I ended up going from one or two pieces of equipment to tractors and trucks, and so I really things really began to grow, and then I ended up getting an offer, and I had jobs, and by the way, I also had part-time jobs while I was building the business. Mm-hmm. So I can remember many days of trying to be the best father that I could, sleeping and trying to build a business and work and all of those things, and then I was actually offered an opportunity with DuPont, and so I took that job, and actually I still, I have over 20 years there now, but it's and then since then, it's something about being an entrepreneur. At least for me, once I had a taste of freedom and really being able to be a free thinker and really being able to create, I was never satisfied doing anything but creating. That's why I've had different companies since then, and some of them have been learning experiences, and they didn't go the way I thought they should have. But that's what it's about. You have to make mistakes. Making mistakes is how you should be learning.
Right.
You know, I mean, and I think that's the thing with. I want to say the problem or issue that we have, I think, with school and the educational system. I think it's we teach our kids to read, remember, and repeat. Read, remember, and repeat. So we're reading something, we memorize it, and then if they can repeat it or rewrite it on a test, we think that they're educated or they've learned. And the bottom line is, they may not have learned anything at all. Maybe how to develop their memory, but learning is actually summoning an idea, right? And being able to actually step out and act on the idea and achieve some noteworthy goal. So okay. I mean, I think we really, and I'm not going to take too much more time. I mean, I love to, I would love to share more of my journey, but in the interest of time, and the other brothers on the call, I'll just say that is that I think our greatest power, besides God Almighty, which is within and in all, is our ability to use our mind properly. It's being able to use our will to be able to see what you want, hold the picture of what you want, no matter what's going on externally. Focus and hold that picture, and really believe, have faith, and expect whatever it is that you're working for, and let God bring it to you.
Okay, all right, Pastor Thurman. So, at what point did you decide that you wanted to be a pastor?
Well, first of all, Pat, that there's something that God has called you to do, whether it's in the marketplace, whether it's at church. For me, I was pushed into it. I didn't. A lot of times, when there's a purpose and a call on your life, you get comfortable wherever you're at. And so I was comfortable where I was at my uncle's church. And, I knew it was something on the inside of me. And let's make this clear too, because a lot of pastors don't like to say this, but I'm going to say this. Running a church is a business.
Absolutely.
If you want to do it right, you got to get your 501c3. You got to get incorporated. You got to get those things. And then it comes to the place of actually budgeting and writing. I mean, each business has their own vision. I mean, each corporation has their own vision. You write that vision. And what pushed me into pastoring is God, man. And there's a desire that you're called to do a certain thing. And it's time, right? I mean, I was at my former church, and it became a routine. It's wrong with my former churches. It's one of the best churches I've ever been to. I've learned a lot, but I just knew that it was time to start my own work. And you'll just know it. You're not comfortable. You're not satisfied. You can be on a job and you be like, man, I'm doing it. I can use this as an example. My wife, when we got married, she just didn't do well on jobs, right? She would get there. It was something in her. She would see something could be done better, and it didn't do well. And I was sitting in the house one day because I was frustrated. I was like, why can't she keep a job? And it was like God just showed me what she does. And I told her, I said, baby, why don't you start your own cleaning business? And the desire and the burning to do it, once she got into it, she understood that it was what God called her to do. And I can't say that you want to do it, because I never wanted to pastor.
Okay.
Something that I never wanted to do. I've seen how people treat pastors, and I was like, I'm good with just being a member of a church or being an elder. But when the call of God is on your life, that burning desire, and Omar, I ran from it. So what I did was I started my ministry, and I started a parachurch, or a church within a church, and started a ministry.
Right.
But I would get that satisfaction for that particular conference that I did. But once I came back, I went right back to being unsatisfied. And whenever there's a call of God in any particular thing, whatever you're doing is never going to be satisfied until you walk in that very calling. And all I can tell you is, Omar, God pushed me into it.
Mhm.
Once I accepted it, then you learn to walk in it. And that's the good thing about whatever business or whatever ministry that God has called you to, because all of us have our own ministry. We call them businesses, but they're actually meeting the need of some individual, right? Or meeting the need of some person, whether you're getting paid for it, or whether you're doing it just out of the purity of your heart. And that's what happened to me, man. I was pushed into it. I knew I had to call, didn't want to do it because I was comfortable where I was at. Because, being in a business, it's going to make you uncomfortable, right? You're going to have some nights where you'll be like, man, how can I get this right? I want to do this for the community. I want to do this for the youth. I want to do this for our elderly people. I want to implement this. And God, where am I going to get the funds from? So you got all of these things going in your mind, and God is constantly pushing you and showing you your purpose for a particular thing. And that's the best way I can explain it to you, man. It was a pull. It was a desire, but I was afraid. And this is the one thing that will hinder you if you're ever trying to start a business. You can't be afraid to fail.
Right.
Sometimes failure can be your greatest accomplishment, because out of the failure, you get that experience.
Right.
Don't do that again. And so what I did was, and this is funny because I just talked to one of my mentors, Apostle Bailey, Pastor Bailey, and I was telling him, I watched my mentors run their business, run the church, and I seen them make mistakes that I put in my data bank and said, and remembered, Thurman, you can't make those mistakes. And sometimes there'll be things that are happening in my business, in the church, and I'll see it and I'll remind myself, and it'll be an event or a screenshot that I've seen before. And in businesses, you'll see screenshots that you've seen before that you got to remember, hey, not to go down that lane because it can cost you. You guys get,
Right.
how can I use it in the marketplace? You got, my father used to be a landscaper. And I remember when he first bought these, my father was the first Black entrepreneur as far as landscaping that was actually getting big contracts with a place called the Rusty Rudder. And he had these other contracts. He would tell us, don't you ride over that stump, it can mess that machine up, right? So you'll see that stump and you'll remember, don't you ride over it, because it can cost you money. And those are things that I have learned that God will push you into. And even though you don't want to do it, you won't get any peace until you do it, right? You just know that it's what God calls you to do, even though you don't want to. You have the desire, you know how to do it. And in all actuality, Omar, God will prepare you for your business. He will prepare you. I was running, I was the third in charge at our church and was running the church. And all my bishop had to do was get up and preach the word He mentored me and showed me, because I didn't want to go in the finance room. I wanted to be out in service. I didn't want to clean up the church. He would give me these little assignments that prepared me for where God had me today. And that's what happens to all of us. Even though, you don't see it, your ministry, your business is already birthed inside you. You've been doing it for years. It's a matter of you just walking into it and accepting the calling, and don't be afraid to fail. Because once you get past that, stepping into the calling and not afraid to fail, that's when success comes. And success in business, sometimes we look at success in business as is how much money I make. Success in business is how you affect people when they work for you, how you affect the community, and what type of service are you giving that folks want. That's success. That's true success. And in the midst of it, God takes care of you, man. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so the call, the fear, not the fear to fail, and then stepping into it, man. That was my process, man. Accepting that, guess what, God, you're right, I am called. And guess what, God, I'm going to do what you called me to do. And then stepping into it, man.
Right. Okay, gentlemen. So we had such a fun time. That time is just about running out. So what I want to do is I want to give each one of you gentlemen 2 minutes. If we can keep it within 2 minutes, just to give us some words of inspiration to other men who are watching. So let's start off with Fernando, Bruce, and then Thurman. 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. There's a few inspirations. First, like you said, when you become a business owner, or you get involved or partner up with a business, make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who have the same type of mindset as you. They want to build the same type of success or business with you, and also work on self development, personal development. We have systems for that as well. There's some quotes that I like to put out there, and dealing with multi-level networking businesses, because it has a bad name, especially in our community. It has a bad name. MLM is a really successful businesses, and Bill Gates. Everyone knows who Bill Gates is, and he quoted that if he could start all over again, or if he had to start all over again, he would do it with a multi-level marketing business. That's a powerful word from a billionaire. So he sees the value in it. It's a low overhead. It doesn't cost a lot to get started, and you can build a life-changing finances. You can build a lifetime of friends. You can build a lifetime of partners. And then stay positive. Even through, like you said, you're going to have failure. You can't be afraid to fail. I've failed a few times. I wanted to get out of this business a few times. But we have a system that we follow that allows you to kind of just start back from the basics and rebuild, and then keep your faith in yourself. I'm more spiritual based. Nothing against religion. I'm more spiritual based. I meditate. I look for within to try to get answers. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but you gotta persevere and push through. So if it's a passion, or if it's true, or if you feel like this is something that you want to do and it's calling you, as the pastor said, it was a calling. So it was a desire for me to want to do it when I was in high school, to be an entrepreneur. And again, I've done it. So it was a calling, I guess, in a way. I say it was a desire that was within me to want to do it. I dreamt about it. So if you have a passion to self-generate money, or have ideals that you want to put out there, then follow those dreams. But write them down, take your thoughts, put them on paper. That's very powerful. Take the imagination, make a blueprint. The paper is the blueprint, because now you turn something that was a thought into something that you can look at, and then you take it to something from your blueprint, then you build it, and then something you can touch. So keep your imagination going, stay positive, personal development, and surround yourself around people who have the same mindset of success, or same mindset of wanting to build something to create success, and also, most importantly, to help each other. Multi-level marketing is also each one teach one system, because in order for me to reach a level, I have to help someone else, and then they have to do the same thing. So it's a help one, help each one, teach one type of mentality.
All right, okay, Bruce, a couple minutes, briefly.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to say that a lot of times we talk about the term be a go-getter, but what my advice is to be a go-giver. You can never give enough, but it has to come from it has to come from a genuine place. It has to, you have to. I mean, if you have to, it should be when you give, it should be spontaneous. If you have to think about it, you trade this for that. It's got to be from the heart and genuine. That's how you receive your blessings, because it's about what goes out. What goes out has to come back in. So be a good go-giver. That's one thing. The second thing is if you think you want to do something, if you really, if it's something that's a burning desire for you to do, if you think you want to do something, you don't have to know. A lot of times I think we have to have all the answers. You don't have to have the answers. That's not your job to have all the answers. Now you should have a plan, but that's not your job to have the answers. Your job, you don't have to know how you're going to do it. You just have to know that you're going to do it. It's kind of like you were going to climb a mountain. When you look at the top of that mountain, you may not be able to see the top of the mountain, but what do? You look up, you take one pick, you put it in one side. Okay, you look around, you put it in, and you put the other pick in the next part of the mountain. You look around, you adjust to your environment, circumstances, and then you'll be shown where to put the next one. So so all you have to do is decide what you want to do and be willing to receive. But you have to. So a lot of times we think we have to have the answers. It's not your job. Let God take care of the answers. You know what I mean? You do what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? I mean, you have faith, and then you have to have what I call expectation. A lot of people mix those two up, faith and expectations. Both are necessary. Faith is crucial, but so is expectation. And expectation meaning when you go out, if you have a great running car, if there's nothing wrong with your car, you have a perfectly good running car. When you go out to your car and you put the key in and you turn the ignition, you don't hope it'll start, wish it'll start. You expect it to start. You're looking for it to start. So you have to look for the good that you desire. You have to expect it. And there's a saying, persistence is insurance against failure, like the brother said. No matter what obstacles come your way.
All right, that's great. Okay, Pastor.
Yeah,
You're coming up closely. Okay.
Yeah, well, this is what I want. I'm going to be very brief. I want to say to my brothers and to my sisters that are listening or that are going to view this, there is greatness on the inside of you. There is things that God has put in you, and no matter what folks done said, or what your uncle done said, or your auntie done said, or the people out on the street may have said that you're not going to be anything. God has put greatness in you. Don't be afraid to walk in your purpose. Don't be afraid to walk in your calling. Stay consistent, stay faithful, and love God, and you will make it. And God will keep blessing you. God bless.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for watching episode 5 with a conversation with men of color. And gentlemen, Pastor Therman, Bruce, Fernando, man, it was an excellent show. Thank you guys for being my guests for this evening.
Appreciate it, brothers.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you.
Love you, bro.
I love you too, man. We'll
Keep
touch
the
base.
positivity, brothers. Keep it going.
All right, take it.
Keep touching lives, brothers. Keep touching lives.
Okay,
All right.
God bless.
God bless, bro.